Hmm.
Hmm.
Welcome to my peoples, to Gandhi Thoughts number 31. This is a very, very important talk here for number 31 with the man himself, Ghostayame. Ghost, thank you for joining me as always.
Thanks for having me, as always.
All right, so before we get started, today we're going to be talking about V4 settings that are going to be coming out soon, relatively soon. Um,
Correct, yes.
and before we get started, it is very, very important to note that Ghost, it's safe to say that the only reason competitive Halo is where it's at right now is because of you, essentially. Right? I
Thank you.
mean,
I mean,
with the settings, with the way the settings are, you pushed for
yeah, well,
BRs when when everyone was kind of like, yeah, well, definitely with that. Remember?
yeah, I did that.
So I trust your judgment, but we got to talk about this. So tell me a little bit about what you're planning to do with V4.
Really, I feel the main topic that we're going to discuss here is the primary loadouts. Ever since the beginning of Halo 4, we've had the whole loadout specialized system, and then you could obviously make the custom loadouts where, game loadouts, they're called, where you only have a select number, up to 5. So yeah, I mean, really just what we're looking at right now is we're looking at how everything's going to be balanced. Back when I chose the BRs, there was multiple reasons I did. First and foremost, I tried to make sure that everything worked. I checked out the kill times of the DMR versus the BR versus the carbine versus even the light rifle, even the assault rifle at one point. And I checked them all out, and they didn't compare. The DMR not only had a much quicker kill time than all the weapons except for the light rifle scoped, but it also had an extremely long reticle range, whatever you guys want to call it, auto aim, all that kind of stuff. So that actually caused, in my opinion, too many standoff battles, the long range battles, kind of just people picking it off. So I felt that couple the almost insanely quick kill time where you can pretty much get 6 shots off as a DMR user before a BR user can get off 5. That couple that with easy use. There's no recoil on the DMR, just bloom. There's no spread. It's just a straight shooter. So there was everything that you wanted was in the DMR. So I felt it was a little overpowered. So then I kind of nixed out the DMR, so to speak, and I looked at the other variables. You got to look at the battle rifle, the carbine, and the light rifle, and again maybe even the assault rifle. You put them in a batch and see how they compare against each other. And in the beginning, I think it's safe to say we all know that the AR and the carbine are not going to be chosen very much. They're going to be neglected. So then I considered, all right, maybe just BR and light rifle. I think the light rifle is very skillful. It rewards the better player when they're shooting. It doesn't have a random spread. It's kind of like the BR that some people want, but it's reskinned as a light rifle, a little bit crazy, but it's cool because de-reses people. Everyone knows that kind of stuff. So yeah, really what I looked at was, all right, maybe we'll see the light rifle and BR kind of get in there. But what I saw happening was, on Solus or on a couple other maps that are a little bit, longer range of sight. I'm sure you guys are familiar with Lotus and all these other maps that have been going on. Is we would see like light rifle matches. It's clearly a superior weapon when it comes to when you're dealing with no spread, as well as the quick kill time of it. If you take one scope shot, you can take the other 3 unscoped and still maintain a 4 shot. So there's little tricks of the trade when using the light rifle that'll actually definitely. They would have gotten noticed in the competitive community. They would have gotten taken advantage of.
So you just nicked it. You that's.
Well,
you just
hold on.
Right.
So I looked at all those, and again, that's how I felt about looking at them from bird's eye perspective. And then I thought, all right, what am I doing these for? I'm doing these for MLG. I'm doing these for game battles. MLG has always been those guys that have really come down and worked everything from the bottom up. They made sure that everything was competitive, and it was just very. Like a dictatorship, so to speak. You had the BRs in Halo 2. We had the pistols in Halo 1. There was all these certain things that people have with the primary loadouts. So I felt, just to take a little step from, or a little hint from MLG, some notes, and implement the one weapon loadout. So which was it going to be, in my opinion? And I just felt that everything for that, with looking at the range on the DMR versus the BR alone, it was pretty safe to say that it wasn't going to be the DMR, because if you put in the DMR, then there's no metagame. There's no opportunity for one to go and pick up a BR. Why am I going to pick up a carbine? Why am I going to pick up a light rifle or an AR, any of these types of weapons, if I just spawn with what some people refer to as a semi-power weapon? So I wanted to make sure that everyone used as much of the sandbox as possible. Obviously, you commentated with me at AGL5. We saw Ninja, a ton of other players actually picking up those weapons because they are more dominant, and when it gets to that competitive play, which I was yearning for it to get to this point, where we actually have two top teams facing off. Like we saw the ordnance or the PODs come into play, and those are the types of things that I really kind of just had a hunch on since the beginning. And I felt that if everything played out, the way it could have, that's where we would be. Now, fast forward to this point, everything has worked out pretty well. The only thing now is we have this weapon tuning coming in, and it could change everything. We have to look at it in a completely new limelight, open-minded. I from the beginning I've always said, innocent until proven guilty, and all that kind of stuff, and we have to give, in my opinion, Quinn a chance. The guy has been working his ass off over there at 343, listening to everyone. I've been in talks with him, giving him, a couple just, notes that I've taken in my tests over the time being. And, he's, I assumed, using it to his advantage, because the bulletin last night, I said to him today, everything that I could want almost in a change was changed. I don't know what else I could request on paper. And until we play this kind of stuff.
So I think that the first question that has to be addressed, and it has to be answered right off the break, is the fact that the BR is getting a big buff, right? It's going from a 5-shot to a 4-shot kill. Is it still going to be BR only start?
Well,
in Team Throwdown.
No, that's the thing. That's the question right here. Is do we continue with what we've been going with, and continue with this BR only range, and in my opinion neglect, and I hate to say it, but it's over half of the population. It's absurd to assume that when you're looking at all the other playlists, Infinity Slayer, Big Team Slayer, Big Team Infinity Slayer, whatever you want to call it, and doubles and Rumble Pit and all these other things where you can choose your loadouts. Honestly, how many people are using the BR, and think about that in percentage-wise, versus the rest of those rifles, versus the rest of, and I'm talking about all of them, even including the suppressor, including the storm rifle. So we have, a small margin to work in. We have 5 loadouts, and this is something that I chose to do the BRs only because of MLG, because of how big of a deal it was in terms of using the rest of the sandbox. But if all of these other weapons are balanced, then there's no real reason to only use the DMR. If someone starts with the DMR, it's still a good idea to pick up a carbine at this point, because it's a supremely better close quarter weapon. Now, reason being, the DMR, if kill time wise, you have to spam your 5-shot to achieve maximum kill time, or the minimum kill time, which is somewhere around I think 1.4 seconds, something like that. So, if I'm trying to spam with the DMR, I have to hit all of my shots with the DMR, which is definitely tougher in close quarters combat. That's without any
irrefutable
testing. You can't argue that. Correct. And then you have the BR, which is clearly easier, and you can pace your shots how a BR is pacing. And same thing with the carbine. You can shoot, at what range you want. You don't have to spam. You just have to fire effectively. And just those tenths of a second of a little bit of a pace, or maybe the person doesn't spam their DMR as much as possible, and that's really where we're going to see the change of pace. So it's going to be actually still working the way it is. You can now have the weapon of your choice, and this is like, let's say TD Pro settings, you could have the weapon of your choice, but still pick up these other weapons on the map, and they're going to have use, which has always been the goal here, is to include as much of the sandbox as possible in our competitive play. We want to have I wish that certain weapons were a little bit more fair, because I think that there's so many cool weapons in Halo. Like, it's not it's not just SMGs, and I'm not trying to take a shot at Call of Duty. I'm just saying it's not SMGs or assault rifles and that kind of stuff. But we have all these crazy unique weapons like the Needler and the storm rifle and the plasma pistol. And I could talk about that for days, but yeah, it's nuts.
So, but the big thing here, Eric, is if we move if we as a community move from, BR only start to having, for V4, hypothetically, of course, move to having, 5 loadouts off the beginning, what really is the point? I mean, if the DMR isn't really considered a power weapon anymore, and you're putting it in the same category as the BR, what's even the point of putting those weapons on the map? Shouldn't you replace them with something that's slightly more advantage? Because if I have a BR and the tuning works out the way that we all believe it is, and it's more of an advantage off the beginning to pick the BR than it is the DMR, then there's no point of having those weapons on the map.
Well, yeah. No, I understand what you're saying. So the thing is here, we really have to reiterate that there's a 12-second despawn time here in Halo 4. So those weapons, like I love the light rifle. I love the BR. I hope to love the carbine and the assault rifle. DMR, it's always gonna irk me. I don't like you, DMR. But regardless, I use it, I use all these weapons because they're effective in their intended ranges. They're effective in their intended roles, so to speak. So I still think that it's vital to keep them around the map because they are fair. And when we're dealing with a competitive playlist, we're talking about precision weapons especially. So I think that all of those weapons should definitely be included more so than, let's say, a suppressor or storm rifle. And those are still going to make it in, actually, to V4. We're still going to include a couple of the tweaked weapons so that we can see how they play in our competitive playlist. And again, Quinn has reassured me that these weapons are going to be effective and they're going to be tuned to make them so they're competitive and not just a spray and pray type of gun. But
with the tuning, I mean, everyone knows how fucking awful it is, to put it simply, to go against the DMR Long Range. The BR will compete.
Correct.
It will compete.
So what's going to happen actually is we have the BR is still going to be at same scoped range, unscoped range of the, I think it's just around 59 point somewhere around 5960 meters or whatever you want to call it in Halo 4. And then you have the light rifle, which is currently at, I think, like 91.5 meters, and then you have the DMR, which is at like 115. So what we're looking at is, the light rifle has 30 meters more than the BR. The DMR has 30 meters more than the light rifle, so it's 60. It has double the range almost, or it's 25. It's logistics, but essentially it's a lot longer. So now what's going on is Quinn's tuning it so the DMR is actually going to be brought down to the 91.5 range. So what that's going to do is you're not going to have that supreme like 55 meter advantage on a person with the DMR anymore. It's going to be brought down to about 30, and it's like extremely significant. Just to give you guys a rough example of what kind of range we're talking about is 60 meters falls right around when you guys are looking from, let's say, simplex, from top purple to top gold. That line of sight that you guys see when you're shooting that BR fight, it actually ends up happening where it's red. It just goes in and out of red. So that's when you know that that's the farthest range. And when you use a DMR, it actually has a little meter, whatever scanner you want to call it, that shows you how far the enemy is away from you, all that kind of cool stuff. So you can figure it out on your own there. But yeah, so what I'm trying to say is our 4v4 format game types, it's going to be awesome. We have, if you're thinking about simplex and the BR's like ultimate range is that of purple to gold, then the DMR isn't going to be that much more effective. It's and we're maybe on monolith if that ends up making it to V4 or other game types where it's you need a light rifle DMR, cool. But yeah, I mean, dude, I can't tell you enough. I like sincerely think this stuff is going to work, and like I said, I hate the DMR, man. I don't want to. You think I want to bring it back? But I gotta give the guy credit, man. He might have made some stuff happen.
So let me spin something here for you, okay? Mm-hmm. So we are, for the first time in probably all of competitive Halo history, with the exception of Halo 2, because most
I know where you're going with this.
Shut your mouth. We have universal settings now, especially with the tuning. Once all the weapons are tuned, which will be a global tune-up so everyone can relax. Mm-hmm. It's not just in one playlist.
Correct. It's
So
global.
essentially, EGL is going to be using the same thing. ACL is going to be using the same thing. The guys in Australia. Every league, even the SADA's CGL, is going to be using the exact same settings because it's 4-shot kill across, right? That was only
Correct.
the big difference. Sure, there may be a couple maps here and there thrown in that the forgers want to do, whatever, I don't care. But the big thing is you have these settings. Now, you have done something that no one else has been able to do with universalizing settings. And now you want to throw, a wrench right into the gears by essentially making it so that everyone spawns with 5 loadouts, and it's the thing that I'm looking at here, man, is really when I think of Team Throwdown, like it's a nightmare when I have, no offense, it's a nightmare when I have like 2 plot extraction on a drift, and then I have 2 options of Team Deluxe. Like it's an instant back out, right?
Correct.
And
correct.
what I'm afraid of is on Team Throwdown is if you implement 5 loadouts into this, right? Like you have 5 loadouts across all settings, a lot of people are going to be very hesitant about that. A lot of people, and I know it's a lot of closed-mindedness, but have you thought about leaving BRs only as one of the game types and the other 2 being, the 5 loadouts?
Yeah, so there's two routes that I'm looking to take right now. One of them is obviously what you're saying is we could do, the first 2 slots are filled in with, the 5 loadout ideology, which again, that's the reason. Another big reason is to transfer, make that transfer over from all the people that play all the other playlists. They're not used to just BRs, and the BR is a tough weapon to get adjusted to. I think it's really safe to say that. Now, with that said, we could do that. We could have the BRs in the 3rd game type and be testing the other 2. But then again, if we're going to have that, then how much BR play is going to get done? We're only going to have one option every time. So, it kind of divides it. So that's that. And again, that's one way of looking at it. Now, the second way we can do it is we hop on board with 343 and their decisions, and we say, you know what, we're gonna trust. Hold on, we're gonna.
Oh my, come on with that, man!
Listen.
You gotta
listen for a second.
Come on, you and I both know that those words you just said were clownish.
Hold on a second, man. Let me finish. We all know. You played Gears of War 3. I know that this guy knows what he's doing, man. I don't know. Like I understand what we started with, guys. Like, holy crap! I mean, let's be real here. Scott, you left. You came
with
back.
The quickness.
And we all know where we were at, guys. Jeez, but we have seen some serious changes in everything, and anything that we've requested, it's really been given to us. So I just think that in terms of, and this is in terms of balance. I'm not talking about. I see a couple of people are hating about certain things about other games, but at the end of the day, I'm talking about weapon balance here, guys. We can strive, I guess, towards this BR because we're going to be safe and know it works, or we can potentially literally team up with 343, kind of like what Call of Duty has done with their developers and trusted them and worked, and now you have what going on, $1 million tournaments and all these other things because you have immense developer support, not just a couple of retweets and an image here and there on the game itself, but an actual tournament that's invested with the developers. Like, let's be real here, guys. So that's what I'm trying to do is if we have to give 343 2 weeks of our time, 2 weeks of our test time to play these game types and to figure out, what, these things suck, then, whatever. Quinn's going to listen, dude. The guy's like attentive to every person on Twitter. He's the one that's controlling all of these tweaks. And again, I just think that they deserve a shot at this point. We have to give them a chance. And if it doesn't work, we can throw BRs in solely and never look back, and that's the end of it. But I'm just saying that this is a huge change here, guys, and we could see, and you guys know where I'm at in terms of who I talk to and all those kinds of things. Whether it's just any of the things that have been going on, Beyond and the rest of the guys here, we're all very interacted with the behind-the-scenes media and the tournaments and all these kinds of things. So what I'm trying to do, guys, is I literally have the best interest of this game, of this community at heart. I'm not trying to appease Quinn. I'm literally looking at all factors combined, and I'm saying this could be it. Like, we could seriously make a huge movement here. And you know what? Again, it could work one way where we're absolutely amazing, or the other way, we go back to BRs. But again, it doesn't make any sense for us to stay closed-minded at this point when the guys on the other side have been nothing but open-minded.
To an extent. Now, recently, okay, it's very important to note recently, ever since Quinn and Bravo were picked up, but really it was Quinn's addition. So now, assuming that we decide to do no, it's not we, it's assuming that you make the executive decision to do 5 loadouts, and it is just a complete, just abomination, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Like the worst thing, what would be the ETA of a playlist update where we would have BRs only back?
Well, all right. So
like assuming the worst, and then you.
I'm gonna be realistic. So let's say, we have to think about it logically. Now, let's say, what's today's date? We're looking at. I'm trying to look at Mondays because that's when the updates come out. So we're waiting on the next bulletin update, and that's gonna come. I think was it when was the next detail coming? I think it's either next Wednesday. It's gonna discuss more of the, I guess the actual release date of it. So let's say. Luckily, hypothetically, we get it on as soon as possible, right? The 6th of April. 6th of May. I'm just talking about because of tournaments. If we get it that date, we have, let's say you want to do it after 2 weeks. Well, for it to be done after 2 weeks, everything has to be submitted a week before. Just like kind of like the App Store in Apple iPods, all that kind of stuff, iPhones. It's the same thing with this kind of stuff. We have to make sure that everything is appropriately, working before we send it in. So if let's say we get April 6th, we play it for a week, at that point I have to make a decision as to whether or not this stuff works. Is a week times fair? What is enough time to give 343 a chance? So
I would say 21 days.
So all right. So is that what we want to? You want to decide on 21 days?
Okay, so we would get it. So the playlist update would be what?
Listen, like the fact of the matter, let's say
let's call it May 6th, okay?
Let's say it's again, and
I just went May 6th because you said April 6th.
I meant May 6th. So let's say hypothetically we have May 6th, right? 21 days from then, and this is because I believe in it, is Quinn is, I can't even tell you how much this guy listens, dude. He will, if we say and come to him with the community, with our competitive community, or really anything. If I just tell him, hey, listen. This is the deal. Here's my logical reasoning. He's like, oh, cool, approved, logical reasoning. I'm going to put it in. He plays devil's advocate at a time, and like he should, just like everyone should, because judge, jury, executioner should never be one person. But at the same time, he takes our competitive community seriously. He knows that I'm kind of leading the charge and leading what we want. So that's what I'm trying to do here, guys. Is I'm just trying to get us in the best wishes and in the best spot to make it back to where we rightfully deserve, in my opinion. So I just think it's another one of those steps along the way.
All right. So the reason I would say 21 days, just so you were familiar with it. One, it takes 21 days to form a habit or to break a habit. The other thing is if we get it May 6th and 21 days, it's going to put us at May 27th. All right, that gives us 3 weeks of testing these game types, because from here on out, that's going to be the competitive settings across the board, right? That's going to give, then the update will come out, and that's going to give people 2 weeks of play with Throwdown going into the event of AGL 7, and then we have UMG, and then we have CGA in July. So most teams go with the 2-week crunch as it is. So I think 21 days of testing these new settings would be adequate. I think because the big thing here is you can't. There's no way of possibly testing this shit because it's being tested at fucking 343 right now, right?
And
so it's all an assumption.
It's not possible to get a specific invite only playlist made. We can't do that. The only person that I know is testing it right now is Walshy, and he's over there at the studios with Bravo. So I haven't really heard much from him. I saw him say a couple of things about it feeling good to Quinn on Twitter, but yeah, I don't really know what's going on. I just got to wait really until everything gets implemented. And I'm with you guys on this. I'm just hoping that everything on paper. I can't tell you how many times I've done testing for this. I don't know. I trust me is all I can say. Is I put my time into this, and I think that we're going to come out on top with it all.
All right. I guess the last thing, we have we have Go Beyond's first strike tonight, so we can go more in depth on
Correct.
the settings as well, which will be at like 8 p.m. Eastern. And then the other thing is actually, yeah, I say we save the rest for Go Beyond later tonight. I think because there's more people in there. We have Ninja in there to give his viewpoints on a lot of things, but I just wanted to kind of get your reasoning on this as on a one-on-one for a bit.
I didn't. Yeah, it was. Dude, I'm glad I got to share my thoughts, everyone. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask me on Twitter. I know I only have like 140 characters or less to give you my input, but maybe we'll get another, I don't know, Gandhi's Thoughts or Carbon's Corner going, something like that, where we can maybe do a Q&A and answer some of your guys' questions.
Sweet. Other than that, if anyone's from California, Valley Gaming League hit me up and they said they're hosting a tournament on Saturday. It's like $500 guaranteed. It's in Stockton, California. The less shady part is how they actually phrased it to me, so I don't really know what the fuck that means. But if anyone's in California, you can hit that up. It's this weekend. It's like 16 teams, $500 guaranteed, something along those lines. Just try to promote the community, But Eric, thanks for coming in for your reasoning. I can't really. The thing that sucks about this is like I can't fucking rebuttal you on this because it hasn't come out yet. But you bet your ass, come fucking day 7. We're coming in hot. I'm gonna put a button in the middle of this that we have to click for who has to talk first.
Hey, well, it's not. The date isn't official. That's just a hypothetical. But,
nope, it's official in my mind.
Well, and then the only other I guess last thoughts is just I'm. You guys know, with how the settings are now, I have again your best interest here in the competitive community. I want to make sure that everything's fair. I'm trying to listen as much as possible and make sure that there's no, non-competitive weapons in the game. Anything that's annoying, anything you guys hate spawns, I'll nix it. So if this stuff sucks, it's out. Just let me hear, voice your opinions and don't do it 5 minutes after the playlist drops, wait a week.
All right, so to wrap up here, for those of you who are just tuning in as we're closing out, V4, there is a very good chance that it will feature 5 loadouts off the beginning: DMR assault rifle, BR light rifle, carbine, and the reason is because we're getting the weapon tune-ups across all playlists. The BR will be a 4-shot kill, and the range of the DMR is being decreased. So, other than that, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you, Ghost, again for joining in. And if you guys have nothing to do tonight, ESPN, God, Go Beyond First Strike. I keep thinking ESPN First Take, man. Go Beyond First Strike tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern. Be there. Peace.
Yep.